Hey everyone, I'm Brent Barnett with Gibraltar Hardware, and today I'm going to be building a rack for John Otto, the drummer for Limp Bizkit. John's got a pretty big setup. He uses 2 bass drums, 3 rack toms, 2 floor toms, a set of octobans on the side, and also some electronics with just a barrage of cymbals. The guy's got splashes and crashes galore. So I want to make something that's going to accommodate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build him a double bass rack that's got 2 front T-legs. So when his drum tech is setting up and tearing down the kit, they can just disconnect the 2 supports in the front and split the rack right in half. Now because John has a bunch of cymbals, I want to be able to create more space on the rack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a second tier on each side, on the floor tom side and the hi-hat side. So the front of the rack is going to be all open, so the audience can see him and he can see the audience, but the sides are going to have a double tier on it so they can hang some of those cymbals from the top and free up some space on the bottom. So anyways, check it out. I hope you like it. Alright, so here's the first step in building John's rack. What I did was I used 2 T-legs for the front of his rack. I just wanted it to be a little bit different than a typical double bass rack. And I made them curved. So it'll have kind of like a sleigh type of look, chopper vibe. And I used 2 SC-GPR 40Cs, which is the 40-inch curve bar. And I connected them together with a couple 6 to 8 inch tubes that I had lying around, just pieces that I'd cut from previous racks. This just goes to show, don't ever throw away any of the rack pieces that you cut off, because you can always find some use for them later. What I have down here is I used a regular GRS, SC-GRS CTLA, and I removed the actual T-leg clamp on it, and I put the adjustable right angle clamp on it, which is the SC-GRS CARA. So it allowed me to attach this curve bar to it and change the angle on it. Now what I did was I connected the two vertical legs with these shorter straight bars by the right angle clamp, which is the SC-GRS CRA. And of course I threw some memory locks on there so I wouldn't lose my place, or he wouldn't lose his place when he tore it down. That could be a very, very, very big pain. But anyways, as you can see, there's other memory locks on there like this, which is the SC-GPR CML that I placed on there, and I put it on there strictly for the fact that I knew that I'm going to be adding more right angle clamps to these vertical tubes. So I don't want to have to take everything apart once I realize, oh, I've got to add another bar onto this. So everything is set as far as this is concerned. Now I'm ready for step 2. Alright, so I have added the horizontal tubes that go over both of his bass drums and the 2 outside vertical tubes. What I did was I used 2 40-inch curve tubes for the horizontal, and I once again used 40-inch curve tubes for the verticals over here. And you have to be very conscientious that when you're setting up these curve tubes, that you need to make sure that there is a level, that they're level in 3 points on this curve tube, because if you just measure it right in the middle, it can still be bowed like this and your whole rack is tweaked off. So if you make sure it's level in all 3 points, it was as if the bar was laying flat on the ground. So as you've noticed, I have pushed everything up to the front, the clamp all the way up to the front on the T-leg. This is because the bar is curved. Now all of his drums and cymbals are going to be hanging on this side of the rack, so what's going to cause, it's going to cause the stress to go inside. So I need that extra length on that T-leg to support the weight that's going to be held on the rack. And I used just a normal right angle clamp just to connect this horizontal tube to this vertical tube right here. Okay, so the next step, I completed the entire base of John's rack by adding the side wings, which all of these tubes are the exact same size. I'm using the exact same length curve tube on each of these bars. They're all 40-inch curved tubes. And I'm connecting them using the GRS CRA, the SC GRS CRA. Okay, so now here's the fun stuff. What I did was, I'm going to be building a second tier for John's rack. John has a lot of cymbals going on this side that I would like to actually hang from a second rack. So what I did was I added this new extender clamp that we have, which is the SC GC-EX. We already offer this in black, but we, since chrome has gotten to be such a big deal over the last couple years, we wanted to offer it in chrome too, so if somebody wanted to make a longer tube, they can, and it all blends in together. So what I did was I took a 24-inch curved tube, the SC GPR 24C, and I just added it right on top of this. So I added 2 of these on the back 2 verticals. And I did the exact same thing on the floor tom side. Okay, so now I have finished the top 2 tiers of John's rack. What I did was I had to use a 46-inch curved tube for the top tier because the way that the verticals bow out at the top. And you'll also notice how there's a little bit of a bow and an angle going up towards the back of the rack, and that's because we're working with curved tubes. Because these verticals right here are curved, and I'm using a curved tube for the horizontal. And on the floor tom side, I just mimicked exactly what I did over on the hi-hat side. So now what I've got to do is I've got to add a hi-hat stand, a legless hi-hat stand to it with a legless snare stand, and I've also have to trim these top excess tubes off. John likes everything flush, so that's what we're going to give him. He wants everything to be top and flush and high and tight. So anyways, here is the rack before everything else is done. Okay, so I am now done with John's rack. As you can see, I cut down the top of those tubes right there to make everything flush. Then what I had to do was, after I used the pipe cutter, I had to file off the insides of the pipe, because what happens is you crimp the tube just a tad bit when you tighten down the pipe cutter. So I filed them down so I was able to put the cap back in. So it looks as if, you know, the pipe came that way. Did the same thing over here, and then if you look down on here, I don't know if you remember, I had this bar was just a little bit sticking out a little bit by about 2 to 3 inches, and I sliced that off too. So what I also did is, John was talking about how he wanted a legless hi-hat stand. So I used a 9607 NL LD, which is the liquid drive no leg hi-hat stand. It's great, feels awesome. And I just took just a miscellaneous tube and connected it using a right angle clamp with a multi-clamp right there. I'll zoom in so you can see. Just a regular multi-clamp right there that I use, that you can use for cymbal arms or tom arms or whatever. And then I used just the right angle clamp right here to connect the both bars together. So over here, I created a no-leg snare stand for him. And I took a 36-inch straight bar, the SC GPR 36, and connected it to this bottom little support, little frame support right there, and it just shoots directly out to the no-leg snare stand. And what I did was I wanted to try something different this time, so I cut him an actual no-leg snare stand. We offer no-leg snare stand as it is the 9606 NL, but I wanted to try something a little different this time, so I just kind of made mine using just a little bit of a tube that I had left over from something, and the SC RMAA, which comes with 3 different size bushings, so you can fit cymbal booms, tom arms, or snare stands, or whatever you want to put in there. So anyways, this is John's rack, and the next time you will see it will be up on stage.